Welcome back to Brashonomics. I'm Ben Brash and lucky enough to have Aubrey Cohen, Seattle PI's real estate reporter. Aubrey, how are you, buddy?
Oh, doing all right. It's not actually raining at the moment, so that's all right.
So Aubrey, you just wrote an article about buying a home. It's a better deal than usual, but still costs more. Maybe explain a little bit, about your article and why buying a home in Seattle is. I mean, it is a better deal, but still not cheap.
No, definitely not cheap. Then again, renting isn't cheap either. It's interesting. There's been a few different reports out. This latest one says that average rent is about 74% of the cost to own a house, and this takes in the cost of your mortgage payment, your insurance, your taxes, things like that.
Maintenance as well?
No, it doesn't. And I'll get to that in a second. But so that's, you say, well, it's cheaper to rent. But the thing is, traditionally, it's been more like around 55% of the cost. Rent's been about just a little over half the cost of owning. So by historical terms, it's a bargain right now to buy. But yeah, there's all sorts of things you can throw in here. You could tip the equation even more towards the rent side by throwing in maintenance. Then again, they didn't include renter's insurance on the rental side. They also didn't calculate the cost of the benefit from the mortgage interest deduction or your benefit from appreciation over time. So this is sort of one of a bunch of different ways you could slice that apple.
Yeah, those are pretty big pieces of the pie, or apple, as you say.
Yeah, well, and then there's also different assumptions you can make.
The apple pie, right, Aubrey?
The apple pie. Now I'm getting hungry. But they assumed a first-time home buyer who's got like a 3.5% down payment, which is FHA down payment. Another report that came out just a couple of months ago said it was cheaper to own. Well, how do they get it to be cheaper to own? Well, they have a 20% down payment. They include the benefit from the mortgage interest deduction, and they include benefit from appreciation over time. The people who did this report, well, they argue for most people the decision, for most first-time home buyers, they don't have 20%, and for most people the decision comes down to what am I going to have to pay every month?
Sure.
Rather than thinking about longer term, like the appreciation.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of variables in this equation. I would say this is one place where you could definitely spin numbers in either way's favor by doing the right math, huh?
Well, it's interesting. I expected that these folks were, when I first saw the numbers, I thought they were going to argue that you should rent because it's cheaper, because the people who put out the study, they're a commercial real estate firm. So they're on the rental side of the business. But what they said was, no, actually, it's a good time to buy because it's a better bargain compared with renting than it is normally. We're above that historical average. We're above the historical tipping point where generally people start to move into homes, and it's likely that we're going to move back towards our historical average with a combination of home prices going up and rents off and rents going down. So if you want to buy a home, what they're saying is now is actually a good time to do it. And there are other reasons to own a home. If you want to be able to have that security, if you want to be able to paint your bathroom, and also if you're going to be there long enough.
That's exactly what I want to do, buddy. I want to paint my bathroom.
Yeah, well,
You know me.
And if you're going to be there long enough, your mortgage payment's going to stay the same, whereas rent's going to go up over time.
Sure.
So, if buying a home was actually cheaper than the cost of rent, well, then pretty much just about anybody should do it. The whole idea historically has been it costs more now, but over time it's a better deal.
Also in your article, you talk a little bit about how it's not just a financial decision that people are making.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, people, it's the American dream, right? You want to own your own home. You want to invest in your community. You want to be able to, as I said, you want to be able to paint and renovate. You want to have that security that you're not going to have a landlord when your lease comes up who's going to say sorry, we're going to sell or whatever. So there's a lot of things to consider. And then again, there's non-financial factors on the other side. I mean, you may want to continue renting if you don't really know where you want to be long term, if you're not feeling that settled yet. So there's a lot. There are decisions in life that are purely financial, and there's just too many other things bound up in where you live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of people maybe even want to find a house but are unable to. I mean, maybe they have kids or their family has changed. They want a piece of that American dream. Maybe they just want to paint a bathroom. I don't know. But then they're even having problems finding houses. And, one of the biggest things that people hate is that fear of loss. It's driving a lot of people crazy, I think, not being able to find housing.
Well, you make a good point, and actually, getting back to this idea of buying versus renting, and this being historically a better time, those prices continue to go up. We have, in part because of what you're saying, that low inventory. We just had our latest monthly report that came out yesterday. In King County, prices were up 11% year over year, and more than that in the city. And part of that is because we have, in the city of Seattle, it's particularly extraordinary. We have less than a 2-month supply of houses on the market. People are back to multiple offers, doing pre-inspections, putting in escalator clauses to outbid other people, and writing love letters to sellers saying, "I love your house, please sell it to me. Here's a picture of me with my dog."
That is one of you remember Ryan? That's one of his big things. People must have been listening. He's the love letter expert.
It's it's pretty amazing right now. And you have I heard about one recently. There was I think 5 bids, and 4 of those people didn't get the house, and so then the next house comes up and. It's sort of human nature. When you miss out the first time, you start to feel desperate. You feel like you need to reach for the next one. And, I had been saying in some previous appearances that we hadn't quite gotten to the levels before where people would just sort of jump at any house that would work, that, houses, they were still mindful of those lessons of the last bubble, and houses had to be right. But those right houses, those houses that were right, that were set, were getting a lot of attention. I think we're starting to get to the point where people are more willing to jump on a house that isn't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm starting to hear is, those houses that maybe would have been sitting 6 months ago, they're getting more attention. But, it's February, and it's still kind of the off season. It'll be interesting to see if all these stories about buyers being out there and being frustrated, if that doesn't drive some seller activity in the spring when we start to get the seller season in a month or two. And, maybe it'll change.
Well, I tell you what, we'd love to have you back. Let's discuss that here coming up in the next few weeks and into March.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes open.
All right, Aubrey, thanks for joining us again. That's Aubrey Cohen with the Seattle PI. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Scott Monroe and Ryan Leopold. We'll be right back after this break.